Hello everybody. There's some rattling around on my desk here. Doing me head in. Right. Welcome to part two. Part one of part two. Gonna get confusing. We're going to start here with a simple change to the data stream to which we've already built. Okay, so if you haven't watched the other videos, which at the time of recording this you won't have because they sit here on my hard drive rather than YouTube. But in the meantime, we'll make the changes and then you'll slowly catch up, if you will. But this is basically what we made in the first part. So it's a way to produce two files, basically. This data file and then all of these. So one after the other. It's a storage. Okay, so that's what part one does. This is currently on test, but we'll obviously have to restart it in a minute. But we only care if it goes overnight okay and holds the weekend okay. So we're working in here now. This is we'll call this historical data. So we're not too fussed about file locks on this one, because nothing ordinarily, except later on, like next day or what have you, are we really going to be accessing it. So I'm not going to bother too much about that one, but I am going to take this one out, leave that there, and we'll go up the way. And we're going to do a process, or let's call it write live data. Okay, we're going to want the file path, and we're going to need a data packet. Okay, so that's what we got, and then I've already copied that to the clipboard, so we'll just bob that in there. You can put it in a try catch statement if you want, or try accept. So we're just going to put the file path in there, and we're going to pass in the data packet. Okay, so back down here, we want to just call self.write live data. The file path would be paths live, something live file, there we go, and the data packet will equal the data packet. Okay, so that should work exactly the same in regards to just writing out that file. Okay, so we'll come back up here, close that off. So what we want is to copy the live file to this one, and we're going to create a write lock. So we'll just finish off my dodgy work. So write lock, if I could type. Apparently not. And get rid of the live file, and that should add up correctly. We'll copy that, and we'll call this one write lock. We need an extension on there. I'll let you copy that now. Plonk one in here, and we'll call this one read lock, which we're going to set from here and then pick up in the next one. Okay, so back in here, we're going to initially assume that there'll be no lock. We'll run a little test here just to make sure we're all cleaned up. Okay, so the first thing we're going to want to do is add a write lock. Okay, this just prevents other files accessing while writing, if we tell it to. It doesn't by default, obviously we have to tell it if that file exists not to do it. So To do that, we just use with open, basically this again, and we'll have paths, we'll have the right lock, and we'll just have right. We don't need an encoding on here, and then we'll just do an f.write, nothing, f.close, done. Okay, and then we'll write our data packet, and then we'll do os.remove, and we want to remove the paths, and we want to remove the data lock or right lock. Okay, that gets rid of that, and then we want to add a read lock, ARSA read lock. Oops. And what this will do is this will be the file that the next script will look for. With open, and we'll go paths, and we want the read lock. And again, we don't need any encoding or anything. All good. Blah blah blah. All done. Simple as that. And we want to leave that in. Leave the read lock in. Okay, so effectively that should be doing the same thing. And it will overwrite it. Now we're going to suffer that initially. Obviously, in the future, we would add some returns if read lock or write lock exists. And we'll come back after completing the data collection. Right now we would just not actually advance on and not bother with it, but we already know that's the case. So this one should still go in here, no problem at all. And we'll restart this now, just make sure that works. Nice quick little video for you for a change. All being well. Move this up a bit. So we'll be looking at 784. We should skip one now. And away we go. Oh, 984, sorry, 784. And we'll keep an eye on this as well. So 982, the current bucket number. 23, we should have now ditched the initial one. So how this works while we wait for that is we bypass, sorry, we don't bypass it, we drop the first minute. So if we look here, get the screen up a bit, check if time to process. So we're passing in the timestamp. Timestamp always comes from the stream, and we can get it either from a message with a price in it or a message with a heartbeat in. If you're new to Forex and streams and all that kind of stuff, basically the API puts out a heartbeat every 5 seconds. This is to keep the stream alive essentially, and to also give clarification that the stream is still up. i.e. if you go a whole minute without getting a price through, you've had no indication that you've got a heartbeat or anything, the stream could be down for all you know and you're waiting around. So you should never be more than 5 seconds behind knowing that the stream is down. So if you haven't had a heartbeat for 6 seconds, chances are to pick up with the stream. But anyway, in either case, we get a timestamp there and a timestamp there, and both of those get passed into this function here, and then we just do some manipulation and break it all down. And then if our self variables, current variables, are empty, we just set them. If not, we check to see whether the current bucket is the same as a new bucket, and the buckets are the numbers on the end of here. So as you can see, we went to 984 as expected. We'll just check this one, 984, so that's still counting up okay. And we should have a read lock in there. Now we do, so we do have a read lock. Okay, so we don't really matter whether we delete that or not, but I will do as I was later. Okay, so yeah, and then if those are not the same, we process. So it's just gathering up all the ticks, these, and slapping them out into these files. Same file written twice, one as a historical data reference and the other one as a live data that we'll be using in a minute. And that's gone up again, so it's definitely working. Okay, and then after we've done the writing out, regardless of if so right, yeah, so we only set that if the startup is false. We only go, so on the first pass, startup is true. So the first run of this, back down here, this will be true. So this won't be executed on the first run for the first minute, but this will be. So we set it to false, and that'll run every time, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so that's pretty much how it works. Nothing fancy. We're just tabulating data and storing it in what I foresee an appropriate way for future processing, rightly or wrongly, but that's what we're doing. Okay, so it's probably the shortest video I've ever done, but that takes care of that pickle. And in the next one, we'll actually write a system to check for this, check for that, read that in, and delete that file. It doesn't matter because we've already got a reference down here, 86 and 86 it was on. And then we'll start by comparing them. Start comparing them and putting out the data for that. So thank you for watching. As always, be sure to like the video if you did, and do it even if you didn't. Subscribe if you're not already there, if you like this kind of content. It would be wonderful to have you along this little journey. Tell all your friends, share it all over social media, get the word out. Obviously, if you need a few more videos to build up some confidence about me, feel free. We'll get there, or we won't. Hopefully we will. But share it, like it, subscribe. Make sure I think if you turn on a notification bell, you get updated when I release a new video. I'm just going for it, so they're going to be a bit sporadic. Trying to upload a few each day and get done. And we're trying to take it in a live, raw, one thing at a time. So we fix this problem, now we can move on. So put them up there. Close that up because we're only really bothered about this bit. Close that down, and I will see you in the next video. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon.